Welcome to MEH, Making Excellent Happen. Also, this is the place where we produce lifelong learners. As in myself, I am a lifelong learner as well. So, will you come and take this journey with me? Let's recap from the last time I spoke to you. I wanted you to ask a more in-depth question to yourself. And I wanted you to ask yourself, who am I? And I wanted you to start having a self-dialogue with yourself, because that is what is important, is that you begin to have a self-dialogue with yourself so that you can know who you really are. Because many of us are who we are because of our parents, our brothers and sisters, our aunts, our family, our friends, society, school. These are the things that shape who we are. But nobody really sits down and have a personal time with themselves, because we're all so busy. We're playing sports, we're doing this, we're in drama, we're in so many things that we take for granted the time that we have. And the one key thing about all of us, we all have the same amount of time each day. You have 24 hours to do whatever you think is important to you. So today we're going to deal with that. So today I want to go beyond the question of who am I, because by now I believe you are the CEO of your life, because you have sat down and have that question. Now we got to keep building on that foundation, and we got to put the framework up. So I don't know if many of you have ever paid attention to how a house is built. But how a house is built, it's a process. And that is what we are going to go through in these videos, is the process. Because the process, to me, is the most important ingredient in this recipe. So we're talking about a recipe for success or a recipe for yourself. The key ingredient is the process. So we want to deal with another aspect of the process, which is your character. But I want you to think about something. And I do a lot of reading. And so I came across this quote from Charles Swindoll. And he stated, "Life is 10% what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it." So he's saying life is only 10% of what happens to me, but the most important thing is, how do I react to it? So with that in mind, understand that you may be in a bad situation. You may have bad circumstances right now, but you know what? That doesn't determine who you are. You can be who you are even in the midst of not even knowing where your future lies right now. But I guarantee you, if you start digging into one, which you did last week by asking the question, who am I? Two, doing what I'm telling you today in this video, working on your character. So we hear the word character, but what really is our character? Well, here is what I've read. Our character is shaped by our decisions. And so whatever decisions we make, it produces the character we want. It produces the character that we are. So you can look at some examples of some superstars who are great entertainers, but behind the scenes, their character is not great. So they're always in trouble. So today I want to get us into the mindset of, if you have a good character, I believe you'll have good habits. So here's an equation I'd like you to think about. If you make bad choices, then that will create bad habits, which will create a bad character. Or you can make good choices, which creates good habits, which will give you a good character. It is up to you which one you choose. So, how can we produce the character that we want? There's a couple things that you can do. The first thing I would suggest to you is write some goals down. And there's two forms of goals. One is a short-term goal, which is goals you should write down for yourself every single day. You should get up in enough time where you're not rushing to work, that you have time to do some reflection, time to figure out how or what is important for you for that day. Now, I know some of you say, well, I go to school, or I go to work, or I do this. But I guarantee you, if you start setting out short-term goals, you'll start seeing how you will maximize your time. Because that's what's important. Are you maximizing your time? Are you maximizing your 24 hours? And that is a separate conversation we're going to have, because we're going to have to deal with that. But today we're just dealing with the character. So I would suggest that you write down short goals. And what you can do is write down your short goals each and every day. And then on Friday, assess your whole week. Look back and see, did you meet all of your goals for each day? And if you did not, keep the ones that you did not meet and plug them in for the next week. That'll help you in the long run. Then the second one is long-term goals. Now, a lot of times long-term goals are 5, 10, 15 year down the road. Something you dream about, something you can see yourself being or doing or dreaming about that car. Well, you got to set a long-term goal. How do you get that car that you want? If you are looking for a car or something material-wise and it costs, you got to figure out, how do I get that? But that is a separate key. But to deal with your character, you want to write down, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? Where do you see yourself in 15 years? Here's an example of myself. When I finally got myself together from not doing what I was supposed to as a high school kid, not doing what I was supposed to as a college kid, when I got kicked out twice academically because I was not studying, because I thought going to college was about the social aspect. I wasn't thinking about the educational part. So when you don't have a high GPA, sometimes the school will put you on probation or will kick you out of school for a semester so you can get yourself together. So that's kind of what happened to me. But in 2000, I finally got it together and decided that I wanted to get a college education because I wanted to better myself. I wanted to put myself in a better position, better opportunities. So I wrote down a goal. I didn't know how I was going to reach the goal, but I just said, you know what, I'm going to write these goals down. I've heard before, if you write down your goals, that is one way of showing that you are using some action. Because see, I can dream about whatever I want, but if I'm not putting any action behind it, then it's only a dream. So I had to put it to action. So what I did was I wrote down on a sheet of paper in a notebook, and I said that I was going to have my first bachelor's degree before I turned 30, or by the time I'm 30 years old. I reached that goal. I graduated in May of 2003, which in 2003, I became 30 years old. Now, I also did another example of long-term goals in 2010 when my life was upside down. As I told you in the other video, I wrote down a goal and said, I'm going to have my master's degree before I turn 40. Now, the unique thing about what's been going on in my life, it seems like every 9 of my life, like the 9 going into a new decade of my life, I seem to get exactly what I'm after. So at 29, I get my first bachelor's degree before I turn 30. And now, this year, before I turn 40, I got my master's degree. So I don't know if it's something in the cosmos or something way out there, but what I will tell you is it's very unique. So that's one way, set goals. The second thing is create a vision board. That's what I did. I created a vision board of where I want to be. And these are the things that I want to be in the future. These are the things that I'm obtaining as I move along. Now, one of the things that I put on my vision board was to graduate. I've met that goal. But there's some other things that I want to put up, that I put on my vision board that I would like to accomplish. So I would say set a vision board. And then third, I would say to you, write out a life purpose. What is your life purpose? Sometimes I think about it and I say, well, what is my purpose in life? And it was kind of hard at first to try to, I guess, gather my thoughts and figure that out. But then I decided that, you know what? I'm going to reach people who are doing the same thing that I was doing. But I'm going to tell them how I persevered, how I was determined not to let my situation tell me who I was. Now, there's some things that really happened that, you know, that people did some bad things. I told you about it last time I spoke to you. But I didn't let that control who I was or where I was going. So, one of the things that I, like to tell you is by setting your goals about your future, you will begin to see that you can create whatever equation you want for yourself, and you can create your life, but you got to be willing to take those steps. They're not easy steps, but I promise you, if you take the necessary steps, it'll happen. So I'm going to read you my life purpose or my mission statement. And I want you to, that's what your assignment for the next time I come to you, I want you to write out a mission statement for yourself. And so hear mine, and then I want you to write out your own. And here is mine. I am the master of my thoughts. Through education, I can do anything. I promise to do my best at all times. For the key to my success is education. Without knowing my past, there is no future. For the tree is only as strong as its roots. I must nurture it. I must feed it for it to grow. Therefore, I can, and I will, and I must succeed in life. Get your character together. You already asked, who am I? Let's build this house and this foundation. Till next time, let's produce lifelong learners.